That doesn't make any sense at all. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because we have light. Maybe that's not gonna work.
A crayon in my brain?
Bow bow.
I'm just gonna have. I'll be back. Just a minute. I'm gonna think about this. Welcome back to Jebry's Gibberish, and today I'm going to try and sort out my bug problem with this white LED light that came with our Emu Xpedition Hybrid Camper. So I've had a package arrive from OzLED, and OzLED was the company I decided to buy from just purely because they had the right length of LED light and it had a similar sort of fixture to what was already on the Caravan. Now, I did a lot of research into which light I could use to replace this. I wanted a dual colored light. I originally wanted a red and white light, but I've ended up getting an amber and white light. And that's not because this basics light from OzLED don't do a red option. They do, but they just don't do it in the meter length version, which was a bit of a shame. So I've just had to go with the amber light, but we'll have a look at that a little bit in a second. The reason I didn't go with the Drifter model was that the freight to WA from Drifter is a little bit expensive, and it wasn't quite a meter long either. And I just wanted the most amount of length that I could get, so it obviously had the most amount of light there. Anyway, let's have a look at it. Okay, so this is what's come from OzLED. Just get rid of that. Now you can see here that it has the yellow and white LEDs all the way along, and it has the switches here to turn the yellow and white sections on and off, which is very similar to the Drifter one. It's also got like a silicone type of waterproofing kind of cover over it here, and this backing is pretty much the same as the one that's on the Caravan already. What's a bit of a shame though is the mounting holes are in different places to the one that's already up here, so we're going to have to drill some new holes. And even though I wanted the meter long one because I thought it would be a dead replacement, it's actually not a meter long, the original one. Oh, actually it's very, very close. I'm actually now wondering, I was thinking I was going to have to drill new holes, but maybe I won't have to. Now, other than having the amber light or a red light to try and keep the bugs away, the other thing that really annoyed me about this setup here on the Expedition is we've got the light switch over here, but it's just on or off, and it is quite a good light and it's quite bright.
No.
The only thing is it's too bright. When you're sitting around the campfire, you just want a little bit of ambient light. You don't want street lights on. So I ordered this from OzLED as well, and this is a dimmer switch. It's actually quite a lot bigger than I thought it would be, and the cables are coming out of the ends here. So we're going to modify this so that that's not the case. And we're going to replace the switch up here with this, because we can turn the lights on and off on the new light with the buttons physically on the light. So I think this is going to go somewhere like that. And we're going to take this backing off and drill through the backing. We'll have a look at all of that a little bit later on. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to unscrew these little plastic clips that hold this light on. Thankfully, we've got a fair bit of slack over here with the cable, so it means we can pull it out through here and we've got a bit to work with. I actually would like to cut this cable off here and leave quite a bit of a tail on it, because this light actually might be useful to use somewhere else at some other time. But I'm just going to try and take this off and just see how compatible these mounts are with the new OzLED Camp 6 light. We can probably just pop that one. It had some glue on here, as you can see, but it was already kind of breaking away. So thinking if I take these end mounts off, it might. So we'll just pull them off just to see. Would make life a lot easier. We can see that that's attached to the silicone at the top with some sort of glue or something. But it might just let us try this out. The Camp 6 light from OzLED is just a little bit taller and a little bit wider, so that mount's not going to fit there. So it just means we've got to drill a couple of holes. It's not a big deal. It just would have been a nice neat fit if we didn't have to do that. So we'll just put this bracket back on. Alrighty, so you can see that we're not going to be far off the length of the last one. It should fit up quite neatly. What I am going to do is I'm just going to chop the end off here and then join that to this existing cabling here and then feed that up through this grommet. Just going to feed some extra wire through here and then cut it about here, I think. What's interesting is how much cheaper this is over this one. This has got no silicon covering on it. The Cree LEDs are just right here. And it looks like you just cut this to length. It's quite interesting. Oh, look at that, it's just coming straight out of this bracket. Yeah, so these strips are, wow, they're really not much to them, is there? It was a very good light though. I'll still keep this because it still might be very handy. Want to make sure we put this grommet on so we don't forget that. Now this Chinese cabling, the sheath's actually stronger than it looks. Thought it would just tear, but it's not. Now I'm not actually sure which is negative and which is positive out of green and blue, so thankfully we've got the multimeter here. So I'm going to make sure these don't short out. I'm just going to turn on the light. Now we've got a positive 13.4 volts. So that means that the green is definitely the positive. All right, turn that off before we short something out and blow a fuse. Melt some wires, set fire to things. Okay. So now we're going to cut off this nice weatherproof plug off my expensive light that I've just bought, because, you know, that's what we do.
No.
Okay. This is a new cheapy lithium ion soldering iron, so it'll be interesting to see how good it is. First time using it in anger. I'm just going to tint these, and we're going to get some heat shrink and heat shrink the individual wires and see if we can get some thicker heat shrink over the whole lot. Okay, so theoretically, this should now work. It just won't have the dimmer on it. Hey, there we go. Look at that. What's really interesting about this light, and I'm sure they're all the same, but I didn't realize this, that the white light and the amber light can be used together, and it actually creates like a warm light, and probably more light, I'm assuming too, because you've got more LEDs. And you can run it without the orange for that white light, or you can run it with the orange and no white light for that anti-bug light. So there we go. All we've got to do now is basically secure that up with a bit of glue, some sort of adhesive, and then fit up our dimmer switch here to replace our LED switch here. That's probably going to be the hardest bit out of the whole job. Well, let's get to it. Alrighty, so I've just put a bit of glue on the back of this light here, and I've just put some electrical tape just to hold that up while it's setting. So while that's happening, we're going to go ahead and pull out this light switch over here, and we're going to put the excess back in there that we don't need, right? And we're going to try and fit up this dimmer switch. But before we do that, we need to pop this off like this. Okay, and we're going to need to drill a hole in the back for the wires to come through, and we're going to chop the ends off this as well, and they're going to go straight through the back, through the hole where that LED switch was, and we're going to have that sitting right like that next to the water pump switch. And that will hopefully be a nice setup, because we can turn the lights on and off with the dimmer switch, but we can also turn the lights on and off up here, so we don't need another switch. So that's just a waste. So to get to that switch, we've got this false panel we can pull out, and inside, I've already pulled this out, but the gauge cluster will give us access to where that switch is as well. So we've got lots of easy access to get in there. Okay, so here comes our switch. Now, seems that they've routed a lot of stuff through there, and they're greens and blues again. Interesting. I'm assuming that the blue is the earth, and everything seems to be earthed through that section there, through that connector. And then these must be the positive to the light. I'm going to put negative here, and I think that's going to be, is it constant power or switched power? That's constant power, and that's switched power. I don't know why it's got two wires coming out of the switched power. That's really weird. That doesn't make any sense at all.
I think that's connected to the light, maybe here as well.
Ah.
Are you stupid or something?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because we have light. Maybe that's not gonna work.
Ha! So you see these lights under here, Miller has just pointed out that these lights also switch off that light switch there. So
might just leave it like that.
well, no, I need the dimmer. That's the whole point of doing this, is to have the dimmer.
But how can you?
Well, okay, I found a solution. So there was two ways I was thinking about doing it. I was thinking about independently switching these sensor lights here and this. But what I think I'm going to do is just mount the switch up above the LED right at the top here. I'm going to mount it like that somewhere. And it means you can turn the light on and then just adjust the dimmer there. And then if you want to do the light color, you just go over here and do it here. And that should be pretty easy, because all I need to do is where this cable comes in the back here from the lights, from up here into the cabinet in here, and I can just cut into that and join that up to the wires for this, and we should be good. So let's give it a crack. First of all, we're going to drill a hole in the back of the dimmer switch so we can get the wires through. Alright, so I've cut the hole through here, and that should allow us to just screw that straight in there. And we can't get these cables through that hole at the moment because of these waterproof connectors, but we're going to cut them off anyway, so it's not going to matter. So I guess that's what we should be doing right about now. I hope they're coloured so that, oh yeah, it looks like they're coloured. They'll be coloured. It'll be fine.
No!
Yay! I think they're coloured. Yeah, it looks good. Alright. So it's a little bit easier to get to this cable in here than it was through the other access panel there. So I'm just going to cut this right here. Should be fine. Alright, well, turns out that these pigtails here aren't long enough to wire it up on the inside, so I'm going to have to try and hopefully get enough length and feed it out through the hole here, and that way I can do the connections out here and feed it back through. Alrighty. I have never tried these before. I saw them on eBay and I thought, I want to give these a crack. These are like heat shrink soldering butt connector type things. So basically, put your 2 bits of wire in there, you heat it up, and then it's got glue here on these blue bits and solder in the middle, and then supposedly it heat shrinks and solders all at the same time. Perfect for this kind of situation. So let's give it a crack. That's supposed to go like that. All right, so we're heat shrinking. That solder did actually melt in there, and it's glued it on both ends. I think if I had a heat gun, that would work a lot better than it did just then, but that solder's actually melted all the way through there. All right, we'll try it again and see if I do a better job. We've got 4 of these to do, so, you know, you'd think by the end of it, I'll probably start to get it a little bit better. All right, so, well, I was right. By the 4th one, it actually, it was quite a good, neat finish. You can see the glue on each end, and I didn't burn it for once, and it actually looks pretty good. So, turn that on. We should get down here our motion sensor lights. Yep, yeah, that's working, and we've got our LED light on there. So hopefully if we turn that on over here, we should get the dimmer on here. There we go. Beautiful. We can put that one on there. Spot on. And then turn it on and off with the master switch. All right, so we do have 3 switches for everything, but hey, it's all good. So now I'm just going to try and feed all this back into here. Put everything back together and clean up, and we're all good.
Yes, finally it's done. I'm hungry.
Alrighty, well, that was all right. There were a few little things in there that I screwed up at in the planning stage, I guess. But in the end, it's all working really well, and I'm loving this orange light. It's a shame that they don't do the 1 meter in the red. I will say one thing about OzLED, and that is that their service was really, really good. I paid full price for it. There was no discount, there was nothing. I just went on their online store and ordered it. But I contacted them a couple of times on Facebook Messenger before I bought it to ask some questions, especially about the red and also about the dimmer switch. And they were so quick at getting back to me. It was actually awesome. The other thing was that by getting the dimmer switch, that tipped the price of the whole purchase over $100 and then gave me free freight. So I essentially got the dimmer switch for free, because by adding it on, it was enough to knock it over to the $100 mark, and then they give you free freight across Australia if it's over $100, which was one of the big reasons why I didn't go with the drifter model. And I've noticed that with a few drifter things, being in regional WA, the freight is just really expensive. So unless you're buying a whole bunch of stuff, it really can sometimes add up and make the whole purchase experience a little bit more expensive than you'd sort of hope for. There's quite a few companies out there that when you order things, you think you've got a pretty good deal, and then you go to put in your details for regional WA, and then the freight just blows the price out of the water and just makes it not worth doing. So it was great that I had the free freight option for over $100. Anyway, so good work to OzLED for that. Love the product. Looks really good. Working well so far. Hopefully it lasts. Looks better quality than what was on there anyway, and that one didn't have any dramas, so we should all be good. Anyway, like and subscribe if you like it, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys in the next one.